Good afternoon, everyone. Again, to God be the glory through our Son, Jesus Christ. I thought our last ball game was a fantastic football game in general, just in college football. I thought our fans gave great support, and definitely in the fourth quarter we felt and all the crowd and all the cheering going on helped our supporters for us, help us to pull out that game and pull out that victory. I think the positive of it, too, is that saw our team respond in a close game, finding a way to win the football game. Offense, defense, special team, every single phase was very, very important. I thought our defense played fantastic. They've been playing very, very well. When you talk about red zone defense, I think we're fifth in the country, I do believe, as far as in that area, and holding them to field goals versus allowing them to score touchdowns. I think throughout this whole season, that's been tremendous. Our defense has done a really good job in that perspective. Moving on to this next game, Presbyterian. They have played us very, very tough the times that I have been here. And I know that Harold Nichols, they do a very, very good job with their football team. They play tough. They play hard. And, again, they've been in so many close games in the 4 or 5 years I've been here. When you look back at some of the things they have done, particularly even at home, this is going to be their senior day for them. So it's going to be a tough ball game for us. Defensively, they run a similar defense that we run, a 4-2-5 as far as their structure. They have always played very good defense. In my 5 years, about 4 years been here, they have been very good. Last year, they held us only 7 points all the way into the fourth quarter. And so this game here is going to be a very, very difficult game for us. Another interesting stat there, I got to looking at it. On third down, they've only allowed 30% of the time where they have allowed offenses to convert on third down. That's a great stat. I think they're first in the conference. They're 16th in the country. So when I say defensive, they're sound. They are sound, and not just been this year. They have been throughout the years. Offensively, I know they've been a little bit inconsistent. I think a lot of it has to do with their quarterback. Unfortunately, they've had to play 3 guys. And when you have that many people going in and out, sometimes it's tough to get the consistency that you're looking for at your quarterback spot. But they have some talent around there. Their quarterback, I think Meeks is the guy that's probably really the one that's the most talented. He has some good skills. He can run with the ball. He can also throw with the ball there, too. So he played against us last year. Special team, they're number 1 in net punting in the conference. They're number 9 in the nation in net punting. So they show that they are sound in their special teams play. Injuries, Tanner Hartman's out, Damon King's out, Malik Matthews is questionable, Zach Fouts is questionable as far as the injury report. Our keys to this game, we got to win the turnovers margin. We have to win that. I know we struggle in every ball game when we have turned the ball over. And we have not gotten the turnovers that we need from the defensive perspective. Defense has really done a pretty good job of getting turnovers for us, but really probably more from the offensive perspective. We have turned it over too many times, particularly probably more of the interceptions. We've been pretty good taking care of the ball fumbling-wise, but we need to take care of that. Then we just win the line of scrimmage. Offense and defensive line must dominate the line of scrimmage for us to be successful this week, and hopefully we can get that play out of us. So we got to continue to improve as a team. Again, every week we got to get better than we were last week, and I hope to see that in our players this week. I know our players are ready to go and play a good football game.
Coach, you don't have him listed on the injury report. Aaron Campbell went down like one of the last plays of regulation, pointed to his knees. Everything.
Yeah, he'll be doubtful. Be end of the week, we'll see what's going to happen. But right now, I have to probably say doubtful.
Along those same lines, Ethan Crawford, saw him get back in a game this past Saturday. Is he good to go? And then also, what was the story on Nick Newman? That was non-injury related, correct?
Crawford is all set, good to go. There's no issues that came up as far as out of the game. Nick Newman was violating a team policy.
Coach, can you talk a little bit more about just finding a way to win last week and just what does that do for the team moving on?
Well, it's a great energy boost. It really shows your team that you can handle adversity. You're going to have that in football games. You're going to have that during the season. And championship teams, they find a way to win. And so it was great to see our team accomplish that. I think we haven't had that necessarily this season, and so I think the joy out of that, I think everybody sensed it, they felt it, and it was a great accomplishment by really everybody involved, from the players who didn't play a whole lot and the players that did play a whole lot. And it was great to see our coaching staff continue to coach and teach, and then our players executed at the end of the ball game.
Coach, on the blocked field goal, Juwan Wells said he, Tolan Avery, got great push up the middle most of the game and we're getting close. Robin said he came off the edge for the block. Was that something, just scheme-wise, you guys saw that you could get penetration at both middle and edge to try to get some pressure on the kicker?
Well, I think Robbins, as far as him particularly, he just kind of, we call it kind of getting skinny between two guys that are trying to block. He kind of got tripped a little bit and put his hand up, and the ball found his hand, or the hand found his ball, however way you want to say it. I think God's obviously had something to do with everything that we do here, no question about that. So, again, we did get good pressure all game long, even on extra points and all those type of things. So I know our guys had confidence that they have a shot to be able to have a block opportunity there at that last one.
Coach, you guys have won 4 games in a row, 3-0 in the conference now. I don't know if you're a believer in momentum, but if you are, what does that do for this team to just really keep things rolling, as well as improve week to week as well?
Well, I think it gives you confidence when you win 3 or 4 games in a row or whatever. You continue to know that you can find a way to win games, even then things maybe get a little tough. I think that helped us in this last ball game, and we have found a way to win games, but we didn't have one tough like that. So I think it just continues to build confidence in your team, offense, defense, and special teams. I think we had some players, in particularly as far as Alex Probert, miss a kick, come back and then make a kick. A little bit of offensive line, and then a little bit here with Steve Buckshot. Wasn't particularly have a great day. Wasn't totally all his fault as far as the 2 interceptions. But that happens, and you want to know how our players are going to respond when adversity hits. And so not only individuals, show that they can overcome it, but our team show that they can overcome it, and that continuously builds the confidence with your team throughout the whole season.
We've seen this particularly in Big South play. The tight end has become more involved in the offense, whether it be blocking and then particularly with receiving and getting more targets. Is that by design with who you're playing, or more at the comfort level Buckshot has in making his progressions and trusting those options?
Well, I think it's a little bit for us. I guess it's a little bit both. I think you go through a game, or when you have your preliminary game plan, you may not include your tight end as much. And then when you get into the game, you may make an adjustment, and then you include your tight end to be more of a primary guy in your ball game. So I think it's always a little bit of both. You include those guys. We do have good receivers. We do have good tight ends. Kendall Coon and other guys at the tight end spot have done a great job when they call upon. Cannon Smith has made good catches. They make good blocks. You don't see all the blocks in a statistical way, but as a coach, they're very, very beneficial for us.
On the field goal there at the end of regulation, where was the breakdown on that play? Did he just miss it? And then also, him having finally a couple of chances there at the end of regulation, then again in overtime of Probert, I'm speaking of, having field goals under pressure. Does that kind of help, just his maturity and experience, just having that under his belt for the first time?
Well, I think the regulation kick, it was just a bad kick. It is what it is from that standpoint, but I think it's just part of the learning from that. And it's, like I said, great to see him turn around right away, and not too long later, to make another kick, and that shows that his maturity level as a true freshman to be able to come and do that. And so it's good to see him do it, and I think he's going to be an excellent kicker. We're glad that we have him on our team because he's done a great job.
Coach, you challenged a spot on the field in the second half last week, and it was right in front of you, if in my recollection. Give us an idea of the communication between up top and downstairs, and how you eventually tell the officials, I want to challenge this. What's the communication like during that process?
Well, that particular play there happened right in front of me, so I kind of saw it with my own eyes. I was almost standing right at the first down marker as far as where he needed to be, and I kind of saw it clearly that he caught the ball right at the yard line. I can't remember if it was 35, 45, or whatever it was, that the ball was caught right there. And so then if his momentum carries him back, or the defender carries him back, you still get the initial momentum where he caught the ball. And so then I saw him mark the ball, maybe it was a yard short, Then upstairs, too, they were in the headphones saying, hey, challenge it, coach, challenge it, coach. And I said, I got it. I just wanted to see. Then I talked to the official personally and just said, I think the mark should be here on this yard line here. He caught the ball here, so it should be here. And he said, no. And I said, well, I'm going to challenge it. And he said, well, give it time, because they look at every play. But I said, well, if they don't challenge this from up above, then I want to make sure that I challenge it and don't run a play. So that was kind of the little mechanics of it as far as my communication with the official and our coaches communicating with me how they go about doing it. So obviously I make the ultimate decision whether we challenge or we don't challenge. But like I said, I personally kind of was right there at that one there, saw it with my own eyes.
Team's 13-2 in November since you've been here. Do you guys do anything, I don't want to say different in November to get them more focused or anything like that, but just what's the feel in this building in the month of November?
Well, we just say that the games that are in November, those are the ones you're going to remember, good or bad, so to speak. And so we've had that kind of mantra just in my own way as been a coach here and talked about that. Then I think it goes to Bill Gillespie, continue to have our guys continue to maintain their strength or even get stronger in the weight room, because that's what that's all about. Is really we're a football team and a football program in the weight room. We just want to go through the motions in the weight room. We wanted to get you stronger during the season versus during the off season, because you're not playing football. We want your success and your productivity to be in during the season. So I think the main reason is really just a little bit about mantra, but also in Bill Gillespie, as we have talked and kind of what our expectation is as coaches and what I've expected him to do and how I communicate that with our players. So he's done a great job in the weight room. So therefore, in the fourth quarter, in the November, our guys are, I'm not going to say they're fresh or anything of that nature, but they feel good about their bodies. They feel good about themselves moving forward, that they're in good shape and they can still go 100 miles an hour, even though they may have already played 300, 400 snaps in a season.
Coach, your punting game has been coming up pretty big here recently. How big of a weapon is Trey as far as what he's able to do punting the ball for you?
Well, we're excited about Trey. We've always seen him as a talented young man, and he continues to improve and continue to get better and better. And again, it's his third year now being our punter, and he's been solid hitting the ball, been solid inside the 20. Sometimes you don't get the yards, but the goal is trying to help our football team, and field position is huge, and he's done a tremendous job there for us, and I know he can continue to get better. So he's an excellent player. I like his leadership. He's one of our probably inside the team as a leader, as far as handling some of the things with our players, having Bible studies and all those type of things. So he is someone that I know our players go to.
We just talked about the focus level in November, but with this game, just the positioning of where it is, the potential of what could be here next week with Charleston Southern, what are you telling your players as far as just to keep them focused on this game this week?
Just what you're saying. We focus on Presbyterian, and we're going to go detailed about how to prepare ourselves against them, what they do, more about us continuing to get better at what we need to get better at. So that's what we focus on. That's what I talk to our coaches, talk to our players. We got a task in hand, and that is we got to play our best football game. Every game you have to get better at, particularly as you continue to play more and more games and you play good football teams, particularly in conference play. It doesn't matter what their record is. They're going to be ready to play. And we got to make sure that we're able to match that. And also, when you're on the road, you got to have that extra focus when you're on the road.
Temperature is supposed to be 70 Saturday. 2 years ago, it was 35 and snowing. What do you recall about getting to the stadium down there 2 years ago?
Well, I like the way our guys responded. That was for sure. They came out ready to play. And we got to do the same thing here. So hopefully we can do that no matter what the temperature is, and our guys will be focused. But obviously I know we remember that day, it was snowing whatever in the morning, and all of a sudden it got cleared up a little bit, and it wasn't too bad of a day as far as once we played the game. But we got to have that same type of focus, same type of energy, and be ready to take on our task and be ready to play our best football game.
What were your thoughts on Lucas Irons last week filling in?
Lucas Irons did a great job, playing pretty much the whole game there, alternating a little bit there with McKinney, them, and those guys. But I was very pleased. Nothing really bad that he played or didn't do. Had 2 or 3 mental mistakes, but nothing really cost us too bad. So very pleased to see him respond. We always talk about the next guy up, this guy go play, and do your job. And that's why you get other guys reps. That's why you play them in games. That's why you get them ready. And when your number's called upon, you got to be ready to respond. So we're very proud of how he responded. Obviously, going to make our team even better with him getting those quality reps.
What did they do on the offensive end that concerned you the most?
What, Presbyterian? They do a lot of different things. They got all different formations. They do a lot of shifts. They have a lot of gadgets. And they got 3 quarterbacks. They all got different skill sets. So there's a variety of things that we got to prepare for, and we got to be sound because they do quite a bit of things on the offensive perspective. So, again, we just got to play our defense and get our eyes on the right reads and do the proper things. But that's the concern I have, is that they're able to do some things that maybe we have not seen before. That's kind of part of their offense. They may show some things that are a little different each week.
Definitely an exciting game to be a part of, a great win by our whole team. I was very pleased with our defensive mindset going into the game. Spoke a little bit last night about the preparation that our guys really had to take on. Made an adjustment in the game plan, and speaking with Coach Gill, getting more of his wisdom. I appreciate him being willing to share the thoughts that could happen based on us changing our philosophy a little bit. And then a great credit to our coaching staff. On Tuesday, we really did 2 days of first and second down. I wasn't pleased where we were at the end of practice on Tuesday. I thought the kids were doing a lot of thinking, and the guys responded to the adjustment on Wednesday, so we really had 2 days of first and second down. And to play the way we did on Saturday, I was very pleased. We did another good job on third down, getting off the field, and also just played with a lot of emotion, a lot of passion, and that was exciting to see. Coach gave our defense a challenge to limit the run game, and I'm really excited to say that we gave up 0 explosive runs. And so I think we're headed in the right direction. When you look at Presbyterian, once again, I'm always impressed with the coaching staff in the Big South Conference of how they're able to put together their schemes. I can guarantee you that when you watch the game against Presbyterian, there's going to be a lot of moving parts. They motion everybody. I think if they could, they'll find a way to motion the offensive linemen and keep it legal. They do a very good job, really, if you're not careful, outflanking you on the perimeter by all the motion that they are doing. So last night was a late night. We talked to each other when we were saying goodbye, and we had a little statement, see you in a couple of hours, because we was all here past midnight. We wanted to make sure we did a good job of preparing our young men. Today is going to be a big day because of all of the formations that they give us. But we're excited. I mean, we have a great opportunity against Presbyterian as we enter in November to represent this university, and so we're looking forward to it.
With all the different pieces they had at quarterback this year, playing 3 different guys, how important will it be to contain Darrell Bridges, limit his explosive plays, limit what he's able to do, so that way you can make sure you are able to attack the quarterback with how inconsistent they've been this year?
Well, it's going to be another great challenge. Darrell Bridges is a dynamic running back. He does a great job of hitting the hole. In small spaces. We watch film, and for his size, you wonder how did he get through that A gap, that B gap. But that's a credit to his great vision and understanding what he's asked to do in their offensive scheme. We're really excited for the opportunity. Like you said, it's going to be a challenge, but I believe our young men, as we prepare the game plan, will be excited to give our best efforts on Saturday.
You talk a little bit more about when you said kids were thinking too much on first and second down, and just the adjustment you guys make going into the game as well.
Well, like I said, on Tuesday, we had an initial game plan, and when you have some of your so-called top guys asking questions, I'm not one of those coaches that's going to force feed. I'm going to try to find a way to make sure our guys are confident. And so, like I said, I wasn't pleased. We wanted to go in the direction to make sure we stopped the quarterback, but it had a lot of moving parts in it. And like I said, at the end of practice, I just didn't feel good about it. I talked to Coach Singletary. He felt the same way. And so we just really revamped. Came back in Tuesday, and I said, we need to scratch this. Thought came to my mind. Ran it by Coach Singletary, Coach Bookbinder, Coach Roberts, and then, like I said, Coach Gill is such a gracious person. He stayed with us and gave us the what-ifs. And so we changed our front scheme a little bit more, and it really was more simpler for our young men. And so Wednesday's practice was really another replication of Tuesday's practice. We didn't change anything, and normally that doesn't happen. And as a coach, you can panic and say, "Well, we didn't get the third down, we didn't get the red zone." But I have a philosophy: I need to make sure they understand what they're doing, and then I take it on myself as a coach. If I need to make the adjustment with calls, limited, I just want our kids to play fast. I think the worst thing you can do is have you guys thinking on Saturday, because you really don't know what the offense is going to come out in. But the worst thing you can do is have your defensive guys thinking, because the fans can see that, everybody can see that they're not playing at a high level. And so our kids, I think they really appreciated us coming back Wednesday and saying, hey, we need to revamp it. And, they responded very well.
Presbyterian's record is not very good, but they give you a lot to have to get ready for as far as their various formations and things they can do on the offensive end.
I know everybody always is talking about records. I think it's the difference when you're playing a conference team, because anytime you play conference team, there's so much everybody's familiar with each other. So you can kind of throw the records out the door. We just had a great game against a very good Gardner-Webb team, and you hear people say, well, they had a losing record. That didn't have anything to do with it. They know us, we know them. And I think it's the same thing with Presbyterian. You're talking about facing a team that knows Liberty football. Both coaching staffs have gone against each other for multiple years. So their guys, they will be excited. They'll be ready to play. And it's our job to make sure our defensive unit is ready to meet that challenge. So once again, you throw the records out the window when it comes to conference play. You see it go on all over the country, where a team that you thought would have no business in a game, they're winning a conference game.
Ben Cheek got to play the entire game against Coastal. Are you mostly preparing for him, or are you also preparing in case John Walker or maybe even Will Brock comes back from his injury, just to be prepared for the styles each quarterback presents?
Yeah, we are preparing for all three. We're going to implement all three in our scouting report and their styles of play, so our young men can be prepared to face whoever that plays on Saturday.
Talked about this a little bit with Coach Gill, 13-2 in November, and he really credited Bill Gillespie for the work that he does. But just wanted to get your thoughts on it too, and just the mindset that this team seems to have late in the year.
Coach Gill has a saying: you want to be remembered in November. And since we've been here in 2012, that's what he's always told our young men. And I think that's kind of the mindset. We got to start making sure we play our best football in November, because, yeah, you may start off slow, but it's always going to be that one or two teams that get that great run throughout the season. They may start off with a losing record early on in the season. And fortunately this year, that's what we've been striving to do. And I just think, like Coach Gill said, Coach Bill Gillespie does a great job of building into our young men's bodies, making sure that they are working out, making sure that injury-prone is not a big issue, because they are continuing their muscle mass. And I just think our guys get excited about November. We've proven that we can play big and play well when it comes to November.
Coach, how important has it been for you guys to really take care of business here in the middle part of the season? The strength of schedule has been so front-loaded, obviously, and then these last two games aren't going to be easy either. Not that this one will be either, but just how important has it been for you guys to have taken care of business?
Well, we just talked to our young men about taking it one game at a time. Coach Gill has a philosophy: be better than yesterday. And we knew when we were sitting at 1-3 that we had to make sure as a coaching staff we let our young men know that we believed in them, that they were going to be fine, that we had to take it one day at a time. And like you stated, October has been a great month for building our young men's faith, belief in what we're doing. And so it's been very joyous to see how our young men have bought in to what we've been saying, even in a difficult time as we start off in September.
At times during games, it seems like the defensive line just is able to, control the game and force their will. As a coordinator, how important is that, and how much is that able to help you being able to rely on those guys to take care of their assignments as you call the game?
Yeah, everything starts with the trenches when it comes to offensive line and defensive line. And we all know Coach Singletary does a great job of teaching our young men how to handle different situations, how to respond. They play lights out. They always play with a strong passion. And as a coordinator, it's always comforting to know that whatever you call front-wise is going to get executed. And, I'm always amazed at how we're able to continuously find pressure, get pressure, four-down pressure, even when we face max protection, seven-man protection against four. Offensive, you would like those chances. So it may not always lead to sacks, but our D-line does a great job of making sure the quarterback is uncomfortable.
Last week we were talking about the Gardner-Webb game from last year, and just that feeling you had at pregame before the game, and then obviously playing itself out. Is there any concern of that going on the road here with this game, and then what could potentially be lying ahead here in a couple weeks?
Well, to me, it's all about the mindset of the young men, and once again, it goes back to Coach Gill stating, continuously be better than yesterday, and then the mindset of our young men. You always get concerned about it, but you really don't know until you're out there on the field. And I've been pleased every single game with the mindset of our young men, really except for Monmouth the third quarter. That's probably the first time all year when I kind of felt that we got a little complacent, and we saw the results of that. But the credit to our young men, they kind of felt that way coming in on Sunday. Like, hey, I was thinking about this, thinking about that. It was homecoming. And, they were honest about themselves on Sunday, and we learned from that this past game. So, I'm counting on our young men taking each game, each day to improve to where we don't go backwards in our thinking, as you stated, and just getting lackadaisical and focusing on things that we shouldn't be focused on.
Coach, you want to open up a little bit about the Gardner-Webb game? Talk a little bit about PC as well.
Yes, sir. Just to recap the Gardner-Webb game, I thought our guys, they played hard, they played tough, they played physical for sure. We weren't as detail-oriented as we'd like to be. I think that's what led to, a couple times being behind the chains a bunch. When we needed to make a play, our guys did step up and make plays. I thought our backs ran really, really hard. I thought when we put the ball in their hands in the pass game as well, they did a really good job of fighting for extra yardage. Pass protection-wise, I thought our guys held up well. There was a couple sacks, but I'm not going to attribute that to the offensive line. I think that came from the quarterback, specifically not getting rid of the football when he needed to. And so I don't know what the total yardage was specifically that we acquired, but I do know it would have been, significantly more had we not taken, 2 or 3 sacks that we had gotten. But I'm proud of the way our guys fought. Just to wrap it all up, when we dialed a guy's number, for the most part, he made plays. And our defense played a heck of a football game. That's what really kept us in the game. So.
In studying game film, what have you seen in what PC does defensively that might create some problems, especially with the strength being on the front seven for him?
Well, consistently throughout our time, here at Liberty, they've always been a really solid structure defense in the sense that they're always gap sound. They keep the football in front of them. It's not very often that footballs get behind them, which tells you that they preach, and make sure everything stays in front of you and rally to the football. They are very, very disciplined, and they do fly to the football. And so when you play teams of that nature that have that kind of defense, you got to play a couple games with them to kind of confuse them and throw them off in a sense of what they're thinking in terms of alignment and assignment. But when you play, a tough defense, such as these guys who preach a good brand of defensive structure and flying to the football, you're gonna have to mix some things up.
Did you see some hesitation in Buckshot? You were talking about him not getting the ball out after the interceptions.
No, we spoke on the phone. I want to say once or twice, and there wasn't any frustration. I think, him being a natural gunslinger, always wanting to extend a football play. We talk about in the quarterback room, your first primary job is to run the offense, and then number 2 is to keep us out of bad plays. And so if we have a play called in which you exhaust your progressions, all right, your job is to make sure that we stay in a good football play. He's taught to run, check it down, and throw it away. Well, he was trying to find something, a couple times when he shouldn't have. He should have just let that play itself out, throw the football away, maintain possession of the football so that we can, punt the ball away. And when we get it back from our defense stopping those guys, we're probably on, in the, in our own plus 40 territory. So I didn't see any hesitation nor sense any from my dialogue with Coach Gill, on the sideline at all.
Coach, that being said, with Buckshot, the more reps that he gets, do you find that you as his offensive coordinator, are getting into more of a rhythm, getting to know each other that much more now that you are gaining that much more experience together?
Yes, sir, indeed. I think, the more teachable moments that we can create both in practice and in a game situation, the better he's going to be throughout his career here, just because he's the type of young man that if he makes one mistake, in a certain area or situation, he won't, usually make that same mistake. He may have made one similar to it, but not, exactly the same. And that's the one thing that you really like about a young man like himself, because, he's willing to listen, take the feedback, and then be able to execute what you wanted to get corrected, relatively easy.
Coach, we've seen this year, the tight ends become more and more involved in the offense. Is that part of Buckshot becoming more comfortable with the offense and being able to trust the tight ends on certain plays, especially on 4th and 1 where they're loading the box and you go play action and find Kendall wide open for 18 yards? Are we sensing that balance there where you can get the tight end more involved and not allow defenses to focus more on the wide receivers?
Yeah, I think in any well-structured system offensively, you have to be able to distribute the football to different personnel in different down and distances. And so, in weeks past, we've gone to backs more in a short yard situation. And it just so happened that, this past week we had an opportunity to go to the tight ends more just because of the nature of their defense. But like I said, any well-structured system is going to be able to distribute the football to the necessary personnel week in and week out, pending the defensive structure.
What are your thoughts on the connection that he and Shells have had here over the last few weeks, and not as much this past week, even though I guess he scored the tying touchdown, but those two have hooked up a lot.
Yeah, we always talk about on our side of the football, we're going to dial up your number. Everyone's getting an opportunity to touch the football on game day. As you can see, week in and week out, a number of people touch the football. So with that being said, I think it's just a savvy veteran who's playing a lot of football, being in a situation where he's got a young guy that he knows can throw the football all over the field. And so, I think that those two have a unique understanding of each other in the sense that, hey, if I just put it in this guy's vicinity, his hands are going to get on the football. And that's what you need. That's kind of what Woodrum had last year with Darren Peterson, where if I just get it anywhere near him, I know there's an opportunity for him to come down with the football. I think that they have a very similar relationship.
Coach, with you guys winning 4 games in a row now, obviously I know you guys take it one game at a time, but getting back to that momentum that you guys have strung some games together now, is there the feeling that, hey, everything is still out there in front of us to win at this point?
Yeah, for sure. We talk about, like you said, 1 week at a time, being 1-0 and taking care of your business, throughout the week will allow you to make plays on Saturday. When it's all said and done, the score will take care of itself. And so our guys are starting to see now that if we adhere to what we're being coached to do and we demonstrate our mental and physical understanding of it, then the stars are going to align themselves, and we're going to put ourselves in a favorable position when it's all said and done to play for a championship. So just to echo that, that statement for sure, our guys are starting to pick up that rhythm.
Is your offense right now where you thought it would be? Has it progressed at the level that pleases you?
Well, we really didn't necessarily anticipate having to play this many freshmen. And so with that being said, my expectations, prior to the situation, I say are different than what they have been since we've been put in this predicament. But I'm pleased with the progress that we have made, knowing that there's a number of guys that this time last year, they were just finishing up their high school career. And with that being said, for them to be able to make that transition and to have success is rare with this large amount of guys that are playing as true freshmen. But are we where we need to be? No, but I think we're far ahead of where most people would be having played this amount of freshmen.
Did you guys work to try to implement a little bit more tempo this week than in weeks past?
This previous week, sir?
Yeah.
Yes
Especially
and
in the
no.
red zone.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
You know, the thing that you try to get yourself into tempo-wise is, am I calling a favorable play knowing that the defense's structure isn't going to be necessarily sound? And so when you call a tempo play, you're thinking, okay, if this play is called, are we going to be able to execute it regardless of how they align? And so with that being said, last week the emphasis was, hey, if they can't handle it, whether it be personnel-wise, tempo-wise, or where we're on the football field, let's just go with it. And we'll live with it whether we do or don't get the first down. And that happened a couple of times where we put ourselves in we were 2nd and 3, we went tempo. We didn't get the first down. We tried to go tempo again, put ourselves in 4th and 1 twice. And fortunately, we converted on it. But the whole thought process behind it was, hey, let's just see if we can, mash that thing in there or throw it out to the perimeter and make a play in a situation in which they just have, either a base blitz called, or a base defense called.